Yeah.
All right. Well, we're filming a little bit. Everything good? Can I call you back? You're missing the crazy scene of Jesus is selling water out there and ice right down there. And Spider-Man's yeah, it's a very busy Friday afternoon on the Strip.
It's a perfect view to get it all right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to have a superhero, Jesus is probably the best.
Yeah, exactly. Entrance theaters right out behind that camera. And so this is my time to come out here on the other side of the country and get some incredible friends and people I know. We've had some casting directors, and now I'm taking you to the famous people, the people who, you know, the stars on there and all that, and they're right here.
Spider-Man.
So, Spider-Man. Yeah, we got some very interesting stars down there.
Biblical figures.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus is selling water.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Hollywood. It's impressive. It is Hollywood.
It is. So with that being said, I have to introduce an incredibly talented actor and his journey. And I probably should tell everybody, Robert, you know, that we do know each other before this. I was very fortunate. We've had many nights of cocktails and cooking, and we've actually been to Thailand together for a film project. Yep. And so with that said, I had to call him up and say, hey, can you come do my podcast? Because nobody else will. So he felt guilty. He's like, all right, fine, I'll come see you. So Robert, thank you so much.
Honored to be here.
This is great. It's super exciting for me because, you know, this started well, first off, you know, everybody's got a podcast now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my dog's starting a podcast. And you know, and you kind of like, really, do we need more podcasts? Because we were just talking about Rogan, and he's the GOAT, and he gets all this sort of stuff. And what I think's happening now with podcasts are they're great little sound bites that are going viral.
Right.
And then if it works, people go, hey, what are they actually talking about? And I think podcasts, I actually almost hate the term podcast because everything's going video and there's a lot that people are referencing, and the reason I don't like the term podcast because it's really becoming the next form of television show or interview show or news. And it's really, and people are getting that now, I think, because of Rogan and Trump on his podcast and what it's done in elections, what it's done with just exposing a lot of different things that we'll call it, I hate saying mainstream media, but, you know, a lot of the controlled narrative from whatever horse they have in the race, they are the keeper of information.
Right.
And I think by now, here we are, where you and I could sit with some mics. We happen to have this great location, and we can talk about anything we want. And so for me, what happened was during COVID and production being shut down and both my kids being in the industry, I had a lot of parents, had a lot of people in the industry going, hey, what are you seeing? Because I kind of sit as a dadager. I sit as a director. I sit as production company and filming. So I wear a few different hats. And for me, I was like, you know, somebody actually said, well, you should really do a podcast. It started with self-tapes because I was helping so many actors doing good quality self-tapes as a director and so, you know, and having the knowledge in production. Speaking of, there's my daughter. I don't know.
Well, I love that you had the lyrics. It's your daughter?
It's my daughter's ringtone.
Dude, that's so well.
Oh.
That's great, though.
It was right here. It sounded like it was coming from there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's acoustics in here. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if it's really. Let's check it.
It's important. You're on the air. It's our third caller.
Exactly. Hi, how are you? Would you like to say hi to everybody?
You're on the air. You're on the air.
You're on the air live.
You're our third caller. Question caller, long distance caller.
It's funny because I literally just referenced my kids.
Yeah.
If there she is. Kids in the industry. The other, say hi to your brother back there.
Yeah. You have a dedication you want to make?
Yeah. You want to say anything?
Ooh.
I'm at Heirloom Bakery in Toluca Lake, a fan favorite for sure.
I like that place a lot. I used to go there a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
Nelson put us on this place.
Yep.
See, it's everybody. It's
right up there with Aroma Cafe.
Oh, we love Aroma.
Aroma and Heirloom. Aroma and Heirloom are the two.
That's.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're filming a little bit. Everything good? Can I call you back? You're missing the crazy scene of Jesus is selling water out there and ice right down there. And Spider-Man's yeah. It's a very busy Friday afternoon on the Strip.
It's a perfect view to get it all right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're gonna have a superhero, Jesus is probably the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Already.
All right. Well,
Have a good time.
love you, honey. Talk to you in a little bit. Call you in a few.
Bye.
Bye. No, you're all good. Is that
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer or a?
Arnold Palmer or a Mark Stevenhagen from a commercial I did years ago, but
We need to insert that. Can I get the video?
Please.
I got to we'll put a link to this video. It's hysterical.
Yeah, because I would love that.
That would be a funny commercial. Stephen Hagen. It was good. I just
Shall I
saw
hold
it.
this up? Arnold Palmer or Mark Stevenhagen.
Exactly. Now they got to sponsor us.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to tell you was someone came up to Jack Nicklaus, someone who didn't know the older golfers. I mean,
okay.
So they came up to Jack Nicklaus, and it's on the internet, so it has to be true.
Right.
Someone came up to Nicklaus and said, "Hey, aren't you Arnold Palmer?" And Nicklaus goes, "No, I'm Mark Stevenhagen."
Oh.
I mean, how cool is that?
That's
That
funny.
made my year.
You were like, wait a minute.
And
That's cool.
Then I know it's gotten somewhere.
Yeah, when it's already gone around
yeah,
and he knew your commercial.
But as I mentioned, golfers used to stop me daily when that spot was running. I mean, anybody who because they know. Arnie's Army. They
Yeah,
call it.
right.
I mean, Arnold, and we were talking about earlier. These golfers have groupies like rock stars, and Arnold was probably at the top of the heap.
And this is
back
coming
in the,
from
back in
somebody
the
who
day.
hung out at the Playboy Mansion.
Well, that's true. That is true.
You got to consider the source.
Yeah, I'm sure Arnie made it up there. Yeah.
No, Hollywood, and it's the amazing part of the every kind of contacts and different things. And it's like you do a part, and you've experienced this so many times. You play a part, and then all of a sudden it just becomes something for people.
Yeah.
And so here's a little commercial you did that every golfer was.
No, for me it's been commercials, or I'd say of all the movies I've done, the one that stands out is In the Line of Fire, because In the Line of Fire, that scene, they used it for all the marketing. They used it for I got in Mad Magazine, which was the pinnacle of my success.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Since we're jump right into the movie. No, I love this too because we know each other. I know we're gonna bounce around everywhere.
Yeah.
And there is no forum. So like I was saying, I started this before I got the call with my kids and people going, "Can you tell me what's happening in the industry now?"
Right.
And so I'm like, nobody knows. Anybody who says they know what's going on in the industry is full of shit, because you've got. I mean, earlier I was covering how AI, which we'll talk about later,
right?
AI, and then you look at COVID and the strike, and now everything is happening, and now you've got Hollywood, and I would say Hollywood is using. This isn't just me. Let's use the stock market.
Right.
Look at this publicly. I won't mention anything like the mouse, but publicly traded stocks.
Right.
That you look and they're producing projects that are just shit.
Right.
And it's not just shit from a standpoint of my critiquing. You're looking at what the reviews are. You're looking at the numbers of the box office. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody even cares.
Yeah.
Because it's so manufactured.
Absolutely.
It's just for the money, and it's not artists making movies. It's not the artistic.
No, and you've lost so much of that independent spirit and so much of that not trying to emulate anything else. As I was standing, I love that we're here at the Dolby Theater. This is obviously where they have the Oscars. We're on the Walk of Fame, the Hollywood. When I first moved to LA, I mean everybody comes here. That's the first stop. And since then they've but while I was standing in the lobby, I was looking up at all the Academy Award winners over the years, and I was thinking of films like Rocky, Annie Hall, even The Last Emperor, which is more of an epic film, but all these films that were so gritty and so unmarvelish, and that's not a slam on Marvel. I'm just saying that was the 70s and 80s, Chariots of Fire, all these films that had stories that were just so powerful, and I just think we are more in the film world becoming recycling and just trying to figure out what's going to make the most money, but I feel like we're moving back towards that. But I wanted to say too that you'd preface this by saying all these podcasts, and so you've got all these podcasts, and I know you and I met through a world that I didn't even know about with our mutual friend who had children who were influencers, and I know your children are in that, and I'm learning about this and trying to catch up with the 21st century. But I did want to say that I loved how you started or telling me about how you were conducting these interviews, which was about make your own projects.
Yes.
Now that can be podcast, that can be film, but my trajectory really changed when I made my first short film.
I want to get into this because
yeah.
I do know that story. I'm just reading my phone here. I know that story, and I'm very interested in having people. Because I had John Levy here, casting director, talking about projects.
Yeah, and he's making a short film.
Yeah,
I think you mentioned.
And now, and it's, and then I always talk about Good Will Hunting. Was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck didn't get cast in that?
Right.
They wrote that.
Right.
Look at Sylvester Stallone, who wrote Rocky and what. And your story. So I almost think that everybody keeps talking about make your own content. Because they feel that they can't get around the gatekeepers and all that. But the reality is, even back then, you still had to fucking make your own content. So please.
And once you do it, it's funny because I was standing out in the kind of waiting area, and there were 2 old VHS tapes. One of them was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which still holds up for me.
Iconic.
And also Say Anything, which is
another iconic.
Rob Reiner. And Rob Reiner was an actor who later became one of the top filmmakers. I mean, I'm a huge Rob Reiner fan, both as an actor and a filmmaker. So for me, I came from sketch comedy, and I was grateful. Starting in the early '90s, I started making a living as an actor, and part of it was that In the Line of Fire movie. When that thing came out, people, I would walk into casting, and they'd say, "Oh, you're the guy from that. You're in." I wouldn't even have to read. So that's what you hope for.
Right.
So what sticks to me, and then I started doing a lot of commercials. And so in commercials, I still love to do commercials, and I've written about half of them, or actually probably more than half. I mean, I always improvise, but I'm always respectful of the writing.
Right.
But I've always had an aspiration to write, and so I was part of a sketch comedy group in the early 90s that had some Saturday Night Live people in the earlier show, and then we had, I was called Brain Trust, and was run by a guy named David Fury, who later became a huge writer for like shows like 24 and Angel. I did a couple episodes of Angel, which was a spinoff of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but very funny. I played a demon plumber. But so somewhere in the late 90s, there was a sketch that I wrote, and we performed it on stage, and I had a great response from the audience, but I was neurotic then. I'm neurotic now. I would second guess a standing ovation. I never. But everybody who read it goes, "This thing is great. You should make this into a short film." So I was on a movie called Air Force One, which was same director that did In the Line of Fire. And the woman who was the coordinator, she read it. She goes, "I'm going to produce this." And most artists, I'll definitely speak for myself, I need that kick in the ass. Otherwise, I'll talk about it.
Right.
But she goes, "No, we're going to do this."
Correct.
And so we started the ball rolling, and I got a free stage at Sony Studios. I got a free camera package. I'd met this guy on a movie, and I want to give him a shout out. I hope he's listening. Bob Harvey, who used to be the guy at Panavision. He not only once, twice, but 3
they
times.
just moved. Not to interrupt you, they just closed
I
down
heard
here
that.
after like
I heard
100
that.
years. It's a shame of what's going
on.
on.
So I don't know what happened to Bob,
yeah.
but Bob was a guy. You're shooting the shit on the set, and you say, I've always thought about making a film, and the guy at Panavision, and he is the guy. He's the gatekeeper. He goes, "Call me, man," when you do that, and you're thinking, "Yeah, I'm gonna call him," and he's gonna go, "Who's this?" I call him up. He goes, "Hey, you're set." I mean, and this is, nobody really shoots on 35 anymore except for Tarantino, Spielberg, and maybe Paul Thomas Anderson. I don't know, but at that time, and it's such a joy to shoot on 35. I'll tell you why, because when you show it, and that first film of mine, and I do want to tell you this, that first film of mine took me around the world, got me into the Playboy Mansion, and almost got me an Oscar. I made the final 10 for the Academy Award, and it was a comedy.
You give us more details.
Okay, so here's what happens. So the woman kicks me into a gear, and so I start figuring out when I'm going to shoot this thing. So this is like late 90s, and we shot it all in one day at Sony Studios. As I said, we got a free stage. I got free, and I had my sound mixer was a guy named Willie Burton, who was like a 2-time Academy Award. Right. And so I'm walking on set, and I'm going, "Hey, word about sound."
Right.
And by the way, all these guys are working for free.
Wow.
I was so humbled by people who said, "Hey, we love your film. We want to be part of it." And I've done this too as an actor for friends. But we made the film, and again, it's a comedy. But I thought, I wonder if people are gonna love it the way they did on stage. Well, my first screening I had it at Paramount, and we had 1,000 people, literally 1,000, because I showed it
big screening.
with another short film. Well, we spent months inviting people.
Right.
We literally turned people away, and I didn't know. Again, you don't know what you've got until you put it
Right,
out there.
you got- that's-
but it's like holding your baby and hoping everybody goes, "Hey, cute baby,"
Right.
or they don't.
Or they just go,
Yeah. Tough luck.
Exactly.
Maybe it'll grow out of it.
Exactly.
So we showed it that night, and that night was literally the night that God said, "Enjoy this, because this is your night." So the next day, CAA calls me, says they want the film sent over. And so I signed with CA as a writer-director, and that was a whole other experience. But the bottom line, what I wanted to tell you about 35 is that, like, one of my favorite movies is Cinema Paradiso. And it's because Cinema Paradiso, here we go.
We might have some audio.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think in the industry, hold for audio.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold for audio.
Exactly.
Okay, go.
But Cinema Paradiso, you get almost the feel of the projector. You're up, they're up in the projection booth. But so when I was traveling, and I literally was traveling the world with this film, I would go up into the projection booth, and you take your film. Mine was just a one-reeler.
Right,
It was only 10 minutes long.
Wow.
But I get to go up there, and I put it on, and it's just that sound. It's like the sound of vinyl. That little crackly.
Mm-hmm.
You just love it. It's just like, and all of a sudden you're seeing your film up on the big screen, and it's just powerful. And and also even just carrying my film through security,
Right.
Yeah, it's my film. It's my film I directed.
That's correct.
So and I hope someone told me that they, even though I did hear about Panavision, but
Right.
someone said they were kind of starting to bring 35 back, or 16. I don't know.
I know Kodak was okay. I'm a techie, so I could go all details, but God, there's so much we could talk. My
Yeah.
head's spinning when you say that.
Yeah.
From a financial standpoint and all that. But I just was at a screening last week at Miami Film Fest, and they took the Olympia Theater, over 1,000 people, and playing it like you just said. So I agree. There's something about film. I remember film, literally shooting on film.
Yeah.
I remember the chemicals, and
Yeah.
I developed film back in the day and all.
Yeah.
So I have a much appreciation for, you have to get it right.
Yeah.
You have to get it right in that camera,
Yeah.
because there's no going back.
No.
It's not digital where you're
No.
like, oh, let me, and doing a reshoot is money and time. So
Well, I'll tell you one just
Yeah.
war story. And again, this is my first film, and so it opens up in a restaurant, and I had 50 extras. I mean, it's got a play. So my opening shot was a dollar shot, and that was totally my money shot. And my actors, there's only 3 actors really in the film, and I self-indulgently played one of the roles as well. But so what happened was my main guy had been sick the day before, so he missed rehearsal. So we're doing the thing, and I've got a big crew, and I've got a big this is it. So we do the dolly shot 5 times, and I tell everybody, you have one extra that does something stupid.
Oh, and they splash the camera.
It's ruined. It's ruined.
Look right in the lens.
So
oh.
now the morning is going away.
Oh, boy.
And by the way, I owe a huge. I need to find her someday. But the script supervisor kept me sane.
Scripting can be important.
Because what
Make or
happened
break your
was
day.
on the 6th take, and bear in mind now we're almost into lunch. I've got one day to shoot this whole thing. I realized my actors are in the wrong seats, and I was going, this can't be happening. This can't be happening.
Oh, no.
And I go, because we got it on the sixth take. There'd be bumps on the dolly. There'd be whatever led us to the 6th take. And I said, that was the first time where we'll fix it in post. Because that was my only hope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, otherwise, I just had,
Flip the scene?
Yeah, but that was the beauty of it. In editing, and I learned so much, both in pre-production, production, and post-production, is that I was able to fix it in post. I just did kind of if I'll show you the film, but it just needed to fade romantically into my lead couple, and I was so bummed out that I had to figure out a way to do it, but I did it. And so but I did want to go back to, especially since we're talking about 35, and depending on how you edit this thing,
right?
We've mentioned the Playboy Mansion. Now, bear in mind, we're not as that hedonistic, but I will say that was, I mean,
was a different time.
It's anybody's dream though.
Right.
But Hugh Hefner used to have a movie night, and he only showed films on 35. And so, he had a theater in the house, and but also, I at the time that I first tried to get invited to a party, I got crickets. My friend who recommended me, he's a big soap opera star. He goes, take your short film by there. I go, they won't watch my short film, will they? He goes, yeah, they're gonna watch it and they're gonna love it, because Hef was a huge movie guy,
right?
And so I took it by there, and Vic, I was like the celebrity at the first party. The first party I went to was a Valentine's party, and I walk in. There were 3 women who ran the invite list, and they were like, "Oh my God, we love your film." And then I saw,
and then you're like, "What?"
Yeah, and then I saw, and I just sent her a message. Brandy Roderick at that time was living in the mansion, and she goes, Hef and I watched your film twice last night. We love it, and they quoted from it, and it was like, and that was it. So for 17 years, I went to the mansion parties. Yeah. And that little film.
Well, that's the difference. You made something.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you're saying. You just don't know what doors are going to be open. So it got me with CAA, got me in there, got me with into the Playboy Mansion. Yeah. We've talked about 30 minutes about that. It wasn't the end all, but I was grateful. I was grateful to go. And then, but almost more importantly, was it took me around the world, took me to Thailand. That was the reason I first went to Thailand, which is where I want to make my next film.
Right.
And so when I went to Thailand, again, I'm thinking, because mine's it's a relationship comedy, and I'm thinking it's going to fall flat on a Thai audience that doesn't get there's a lot
nuance.
There's nuance. It's insurance. It's a spoof on insurance for when you break up, and so there was a lot of nuance, and so they loved it there. And I showed it in Germany. I showed it France. I showed it, and then a lot of great festivals. And then towards the end of my run, you get about a 2-year run on a short film or a feature, I think, if you're doing the festival circuit. And so towards the end of my run, I did Slamdance. And when I was at Slamdance, and I won big awards at Slamdance, that was the week that I found out that that I had made the short list, because they print in Variety and Hollywood Reporter the final 10. Now, I didn't get the Oscar. It's like waking up Christmas where you don't get the bike,
right,
but you might possibly get the bike. But,
right.
But so what happened was, this British friend of mine goes, "You realize you made the top 10 for the Academy Award?" Because when I took my film by, this is pretty funny, actually. See, again, I'm carrying my little canister, 35 print. So I go by the Academy, and this guy's sitting in office, and this is no joke. There was like a mountain of films, like literally like piled on each other in their can. And he goes, "Yeah, just set it anywhere." I go, "They're not going to watch this film,
right?"
And let alone, I mean, it's a comedy, but it got pretty far. So I can use that in my press kits. I'm not just pulling that out of air. It did make the top 10, and 20 years later, I still want to make maybe a feature out of it.
Well, that's what we were talking about.
Would love it,
and I think that's the difference between. I look at you, and I go back to when I grew up. I was in New York, and I was at the Actors Studio and Wiesbaden and all these places, and I had that bug. Obviously I got pulled off in a tech, and who knows, now I'm back. But the reason I mention that is, when you're creative, you have this passion to create. It's not about money. Kind of how we opened up. Yes, you need money to live. We all do.
Yeah.
But you're not out there trying to make the next $1 billion Hollywood. You're out there because there's a story you want to tell. You want to share. It's like a really funny joke.
Yeah.
You want to tell your buddy and get them to laugh.
Yeah.
And a good project, I feel, has that same element to it. It's a very sad story, and you want them to feel.
Yeah.
It's about a feeling.
Yeah.
And I always like to say, actors, and one actor to a very, accomplished actor, is, I may not remember what you said, but I know how you made me feel.
Oh, that's great. Absolutely.
And
because that is what you walk out with.
Right. And so if I can deliver, if that script gives me the meat, and then I am the catalyst, or I use my own interpretation to be that character, because what you would read versus what somebody else would read, and the reason I'm saying this, because I am going someplace with this, is, you look at somebody like Tom Cruise, who, if I said to you, help me help you, You know exactly the movie.
Yeah,
You know the
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
It's those
Yeah.
lines in movies
Yeah.
from the days ago that enact go.
And it's all,
go on.
well, only because I went off the heels of what you
Yeah.
just said. I was on an airplane and I was listening to this guy, and he was kind of a nerdy guy. I'm kind of a nerdy guy too, but a nerdy guy. And I think he was trying to pick up this woman, but he said something. He goes, really, movies, they all boil down to one-liners. That's really what it's all about. And I'm going, dude, I think it's a little oversimplification. Then as I'm getting off the plane, I go, shit, that guy was right. It really, when you think about it, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock used to say that if you had 5 great scenes, you had a hit movie. And it's probably pretty good math coming from the master. But also when you think about what you just said, you walk out about how a movie made you feel, but also when you remember, go ahead, make my day, or I'll be back, or Adrian. No, but seriously, and the lines have to be within a context of something that moves you, or
Right,
something
it builds the story to that
something that's
moment.
poignant. Yeah. So they can't just be one-liners for one-liners' sake. But
Right.
that really, it occurred to me that the guy was pretty close.
You're like, damn.
Yeah.
But because here we are spending all this time.
Yeah.
But you have to build the setup. It's
Yeah.
like a joke,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the punchline, and
Right.
those are the moments, but you
Yeah.
know the whole history. And that's
But
what
I do a romantic comedy, and I mentioned Rob Reiner earlier. But you think about which still to me, like When Harry Met Sally, holds up as one of the strongest romantic comedies. And you think about which his mom, or he ad libbed, but gave his mom the line, which was "I'll have what she's having."
Yes, which is.
I mean, there's a bunch of lines, and these are my heroes, like Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest. I directed a film that I completely improvised, 100% improvisation, and it was a musical comedy film, and we shot it in Germany and France. I directed a film in 3 countries in 8 days for money that you probably spent at lunch. I mean,
I did not know this, and you make me feel so much better because I shot this movie that I will put out called Corona Camp, and I was 5 days of filming
Corona Camp.
Corona Camp. All these bougie kids
Yeah.
get sent to camp during
Right.
COVID because I had to because
Ooh, that's a great idea.
though. And 5 days into it, didn't have a script. Everybody wanted me to do horror. They're sending me these horror things. I'm like, we're in the height of the pandemic. God knows what's going on around the world.
Yeah.
I'm going to make something stupid and funny. So it's Mel Brooks meets The Office. I took Monty Python scenes. Don't eat the salmon. And it just, so it's a bunch of scenes that plays as a theme. It's not good, but it's very funny. I can say that because it's not, the acting is great. Everybody else, it's me. I'm 5 days in. I don't have a script. So we were writing stuff. I was like, wait, we need a scene here to break up this. When I say a shit show is an understatement, but it's watchable.
I bet you got some gold in there. I mean, that's the thing about improv. Improv, you just don't know. Yeah, and that's where it was on my film. I play a bad motivational speaker who I sold one book in L.A. I think we started in L.A. and it was called The North Star: Finding Your One Constant in a World of Inconsistency. So my agents tell me, listen, you're a loser in America, but apparently you're big in Germany. And so I go, okay, great. So we break into song about Germany. That I'm big in Deutschland. So I go over to Germany, and I find out that's a mistake too. No, it's funny. I asked an actress about my lead actress, who is stunning, by the way. Her name is Marika Fell, and she's stunning. And so she plays the woman who's assigned to show me around and take me to the book signing and all this. And she thinks I'm an idiot. And she thinks all Americans that think, that you can get help out of a book or a Oprah episode or whatever. And so, she's just real intellectual, whatever. So when I get over there, it's a total mistake that they hate me worse in Germany than they did in America. But I win them over. But I wasn't really trying to make complete fun of motivational speakers, because I do believe there are some great ones.
Yes.
And I base this guy loosely on a real guy who carries around these index cards with quotes. And so if you have a problem, he'll pull out a quote and say, early bird gets the worm.
Right,
whatever he thinks
Stitch
is
of time.
it's going to help you. And so it was, but I was going to tell you one side story. So, and why improvisation I love, being open to it. And I've worked with a lot of great directors who in the moment, like this show I just did in Oklahoma with Ethan Hawke, the director was so open. This is TV too, which is pretty rare, but we improvised a ton.
That's great.
And so, but on this movie, that I directed, we came home. Can I tell this quick?
Oh, we got all the time.
Okay. So
all the time in the world.
I mean, this is one of my favorite stories for how something can come together. So we come home late at night. We're staying at a hotel in Hamburg, and it's like we've been shooting all day.
What year is about?
This is like 2006.
Okay.
So 2005, 2006. It's about 20. God, I can't believe it's almost been 20 years ago. So we come into the hotel. And again, my lead actress is very attractive. We come in, and out of this other room, we're high in the hotel. It's like 20th floor or something. This guy walks out of this room, and he's just done an interview, and he's got a scar down the side of his face. And he sees my actress and goes, "Hey," and said, "They know each other." And she pulls me aside. She goes, "Do you know who this guy is?" I says, "No." He said, "He goes, he's like the." I don't think she used these words, but what I came to learn was he was like the Jimmy Hoffa of Hamburg. Like the cops didn't bother him, the bad guys didn't bother him, and he was one of those pit bulls. He didn't look that big,
right? But
you did not want to tangle with this guy.
You don't cross, got it.
And so he's excited to see my actress, and she turns to me and says, "How would you like him to be in the film?" I said, "Let's do it." So on the spot, I wrote a scene where I said, "Okay, so I play a happiness counselor for businesses, and then my book, is supposed to be to help inspire people in their workplace." So I said, what if we say that he's going to show us his version of happiness? And and I'm telling you, when I say this guy's tough, you shake his hand and blood comes out of your head.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's like he's that guy. So we do this. So we start this scene. So we're doing this totally on the fly. It's midnight. So midnight. So he takes us into the Reeperbahn, which is the red light district of Hamburg. You could never shoot in these places in a billion years. You're coming into a strip club with a camera. We walk in. Oh, I got to tell you first what happened. so we're driving down the road, and whatever that main street is in the Reeperbahn, it'd be like driving down. Seriously, like driving down this road. Yeah. I mean, there's
Hollywood Boulevard.
There's that much traffic, but so some guy cuts him off. You don't want to cut this guy off. So he stops the car. Stops the car in the middle of the road, and all these people on the side of the road are yelling because they recognize him. And I'm going, but I said, keep the camera going. So as the camera's rolling, and I said, and he cusses this guy out in German, and he's got road rage. He gets out of the car. Then this big guy who thinks he's probably going to, have no problem, because his name's Callie Schwinson. Callie's probably 5'6" and but tough to be about 6'5". Okay. So just flip it. The guy, you don't want to take it. So this guy walks over, says something to him. In 3 punches, Callie goes boom, boom, boom. The guy just goes down. He's got blood coming out of the back of his ear. Now, we still got the camera rolling. So he gets in the car. And I said, no, remember, I'm still in character. I said, hostility comes from a deep place, Callie, and I think you know that. And I've got a chapter in my book, about road rage. Now the actress is in the back seat going, don't. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna hit you next. He's gonna hit you. And he looks at me with his eye blood red. And I think one of two things saved my life. Either his English was not that great, which it wasn't.
Okay. That is an advantage.
But the look was, are you mocking me?
Right.
Or the other thing was, he did remember that we were making a movie and that I was still being funny.
Right.
Whatever it was saved my life. But then so we go into these bars.
Great.
We go to these bars, and every stripper.
Well, that takes some balls on your part.
Dude, well, here's what took more balls. So we go in the clubs, and I told him firsthand. I said, we have no money. There's no budget on this film.
Right.
But I want to buy you drinks. So wherever we go.
Yeah.
So we go in these strip clubs, and all these strippers know him. We walk in, it's like, "Hey, Callie," we got a big honking camera. We're using a DVX 100. Remember that?
Oh my gosh, that's a big camera.
Yeah. So
wait, is that VHS?
No, it's got this little mini tape. So
the mini, okay, yeah.
But it was not a subtle Canon
none of those things
or
back
GoPro.
then. Yeah.
I mean, this thing was a big camera.
It's a shoulder rig.
Yeah. So we go in, and nobody says a thing, and so we go up to the bar, and I said, "Please, whatever you want to drink." He starts buying drinks for everybody. And I'm going, oh, no. I told the actress, listen, I ain't got that. I mean, he's like, come on over, everybody. This guy's buying drinks. I'm going, no. So now it's 3 a.m. and we're in the back alley, and he's pissed. And he goes, man, does he know how lucky he is to, we're going to all these clubs and nobody stops it. He goes, he does know, but he also just told me he can't afford to buy. So anyway, we talked him off of that one too. So We've got it in the film. So if you see my film, it's called Half Empty. I had sold it to Netflix, but it's not on there anymore. But I'm really proud of it. And again, yeah. But that was a.
I'm gonna get a front
I want you to see it.
I
Oh,
need to watch this one.
Yeah.
Dude, this is that Luke Saloon with me. Probably dying back there.
It was fun, man. It was so fun to make, and there were so many beautiful things that happened on that film. The only others, so I told you I wrote the book. So who would go up to people randomly in the streets, and so we've got one scene with this great. He was a piano tuner, Italian, and we're at a triathlon in Hamburg, and this guy had a heart of gold. And so I'm doing my motivational speaking. I said, people are like pianos. They get out of tune and they need something to tune. He goes, yeah, it's beautiful, yeah, man. So anyway, we had this great thing. It's in the scene, and it's kind of the scene where the girl starts to see me that I'm not full of shit.
That's the moment
in the movie. Yeah,
right.
She's looking at me. She's going. She goes, this guy is actually sincere. He actually does believe what he says.
Right.
And so, but what I loved was a year later, we go back and we screened it for the first time at the Oldenburg Film Festival, which is actually where we shot it. One of my producers runs the Oldenburg Film Festival. Okay. And so when we came back to the Oldenburg, I tried to contact everybody to see if they wanted to come to the film. Right. I called the piano tuner. His first thing he says, he goes, hey man, have you sold any books? He was worried about my book. I told him I only sold one copy. He goes, have you sold any books? I said, man, you should know there is no book. It was a movie.
And what did he say?
It was Heart of Gold. He goes, oh man, that's great. That's great. But I just loved that it was a year's time. He goes, the first thing he says, he's concerned about me selling a book.
That's
people. That's just people.
I was just gonna say
everywhere.
That's where a movie transcends what it is and it becomes that work of art in which we talked about.
Yeah.
And first I want to get into that from an AI standpoint because I do want to talk about it. You got me thinking something, but I have to tell you a funny story because you'll appreciate this. You'll be able to find it, but you get as a director or a production company, you get approached to make movies all the time and different things.
Right.
However, some people have budgets and some don't, and some don't understand how much this stuff costs to make. Yes, it is definitely dropping from what it used to be because we're not doing film.
Yeah.
You're doing digital, but you still to make something look good. You need some experience and time. Anyway, so I'm pulled into this project where I've managed to get a fully functional jail. They've got half of it shut down. I've got the keys. Long story short, I got like 50 people. Real jail, operational jail.
Gotcha.
And there's a scene of me. I actually took the keys and I locked myself in the cell and was cutting a steak on an apple box because I just needed to be away from everybody because I was like, I had it. But the reason when you say this is you never know what you're going to make and where it goes. And there was a famous athlete who was in this movie, and we got a random phone call because people heard we were making this movie with this athlete, and the guy wanted to meet the athlete so bad. He goes, I want to be an extra. And we're like, whatever. We're like, normally you're paying extra, $100 or back then, whatever it was for the day. And they're sitting around and, now it's, okay, you guys walk from that, that to that. However, this guy comes up, he goes, I have $5,000 cash. And he's like, I want to be an extra. They called me out. I'm sitting here. He's got a pile of cash. We're outside a jail cell. It was a scene. I'm like going, yeah, you just never know what's going to go on, do you? So I'm like, and when he was dead serious about this, I was like, I'm like, first off, it's not my movie.
Right.
I'm not, I'm the director, but I'm not funding it. I'm not doing anything. And the moral of this story, so I talked to the EP, executive producer, and said, here's the situation. And I go, actually, what we could do is we could have him in chains going behind the guy or something like this. And I go, because when you're on an ultra low budget, like you said, you're trying to save money.
Right.
It's rare when somebody's, I'll give you $5,000 to be in a little backup scene. You're like, I'm like, this could help you guys. So ironically, yes, we put him in shackles and had him dragging around, and he got to take a picture with the star. And it was, but I'm like, you just never.
Yeah.
So when you tell me about, here's a guy punches him on camera.
Yeah.
You're like, you just, you get out there and make your stuff because there's always the happy accidents or
Yeah.
whatever they are, and
Yeah.
that actually leads me into kind of going into AI and all this stuff, because and it's, I don't want to make this about AI, I don't, but because it's such a hot topic. I'm in this new position where I'm seeing a lot of the, because I'm on all aspects of the industry, and some of the new editing tools have a lot of AI stuff built into them. They actually just announced this last week. You can take your script, feed it into the editing program, and it'll go through and it'll index all the audio and build your scene cuts in it. So so there's all this technology coming. So I look at it this way. You and I both know a movie's made 3 times. It's written, it's filmed, and it's edited.
Right.
Each one is critically important, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so with that being said, I look at the most important part, the human story. Like you just said, there was a lot of stuff you guys improvised.
Oh.
And some of the best movie scenes are improvised.
Well, that whole movie was improvised.
And that's what I'm getting at. So
finish,
how is AI?
Yeah.
And what and this isn't hating toward techies.
Right.
I'm a tech guy.
Right.
It's not hating toward. There's no hate to anybody, but it's, if you stop and look at it. Making a movie or show or whatever it is there's an art to it, right?
Right.
And there's a human element and connection. So why am I using AI to remove the part that we want to do? Why don't I use AI to get rid of all the bookkeepers?
Yeah.
To get rid of all the marketing people, to get rid of the studio BS
Right.
that's all being told on the front end. I use it where I put my script in, it generates all the call sheets, it gives me all that type of stuff. Then we have the fun of filming it, which now you're 100%, you're 300% more effective in making your day because it's doing scripty for you.
Well, to both of those, like probably people would know, Final Draft is kind of the
industry writing tool,
script writing
Yeah.
mainly, and then Movie Magic used to be what
Right.
what we use for scheduling. But you're saying AI in some respect replaces both of those,
And
or works in
Well, that's
in concert with
eventually.
those.
Well, yeah. So you could take your final draft.
Yeah.
Like in theory,
Which is what I use for all scripts.
You take your final draft and then you stick it through the meat grinder, the AI meat grinder, and now you have everything you need. Your pricing, and it could even be to the point. This doesn't exist yet, but I think this is where the industry is going to be. Here's where I say we're going to have the Renaissance, meaning we're sitting across from and this is no hate on Snow White. This is that movie has had how many hundreds of millions of dollars? We needed to make $1 billion and it's not going to do that now. And it's got a lot of hate on it online because we were talking earlier about all the backstory around it, whether it was the AI actors or whatever the animated actors or all the million pieces that everybody knows online. I don't need to hash this out, but the bottom line is,
they're playing into ideology and they're playing into what they think might sell more tickets.
That's exactly it.
And that's why it brings me back to those films that I mentioned as I was walking into to this room, that they have downstairs of all the Academy Award winning films over the years, and whether you like Woody Allen or not, Woody says he doesn't like to make films anymore. I mean, we've lost so much of that independent spirit. I mean, of course, he had a incredible thing where he all his films were financed and he had the autonomy to make it.
Right.
But that's the way it should be. I mean, there's so many, and I know there's so many. AI is going to bring out a whole new field of visionaries, probably in a much different way. And I waver on whether that's a compromise on people's creative skills, because you're basically, like you say, and you use the term putting it into the meat grinder, but it is in effect. Well, it's certainly on the technical stuff, on the money raising, or not money raising, but on the scheduling and on the budgeting. All that to me is just a gift.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
especially for people like us that just are trying to make our own projects, and we don't have any studios behind us and all that.
And that's why I think there will be, if done right, or say done right, if when somebody gets those tools, like you said, because at the end of the day, it's this is an industry you can be any age.
Right.
And be a creative. You can make it from when you're whatever age. And the reason I bring that up is, you know, but learning these tools to be able to take your script or a great script or a concept and then get great acting. That's what you need.
Right.
Everything else that goes behind a movie, if people knew all of the just the bullshit of how many months of pre-production and scheduling and location and budget and all that type of stuff. Now that could be done in minutes instead of months. Wow. And then you go film, which the filming part is what we love.
Yeah,
that's where the magic happens,
Yeah.
the improv,
Yeah.
all of that. And
Yeah.
then if you already have almost more than just dailies, which is what you looked at, what you shot is
Right.
have almost the outline. You
Yeah.
can make a bunch. You can be so much more creative and
Yeah.
so much more flexible because
Yeah.
you're not constrained by
Yeah.
Hollywood from essentially 100 years ago where they turned it into a business. You know,
Right.
it got turned into a
Right.
business of I need to make 6 movies. They all
Right.
need to generate this money. And
Yeah.
the ones that have gone off the grid, just like you said, Ferris Bueller. John Hughes did not
Yeah.
come out with Ferris Bueller going, well, it needs to make $300 million at the box office. No, none of these guys back
Absolutely.
then didn't.
Yeah.
That's not the mentality. But over the past,
I agree.
it's almost like we've done with fast food. We're
Yeah.
just like, how cheap can we make the product?
Yeah.
And how much delivery can we get? Not how good is it?
Right.
Not is this organic grass-fed beef? Is it, you know, somehow the actual quality of the product is now gone.
Right.
It's how can I market it to make you think that, and that's what I think's happening in Hollywood, and I think why it's crashing and burning over these past few years, because we've watched from COVID to then trying to rebuild to the strikes to AI to all this, and I think it's guys, you know, like you who have been writing movies, who have been like, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna go film it, and that's because then people look at you and go, wow, he's a highly accomplished actor as well. Like, I want him in my project. I want him because you're creative, a true and you know, and that's the difference where I think it's hard for a lot of people who are like, I'm an actor. I don't think you can be an actor anymore, unless you're Brando or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
There's
I
very
do.
few. Even Tom Cruise makes his own stuff
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You know, so the days of just calling an agent, waiting for a role, and sending self tapes, I think those days. You know, like I'm looking and going, those are done. You gotta get in front of the camera if you wanna, you know.
Yeah.
What's your thought? I mean,
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see but that's been around, that idea of taking the bull by the horns. You know, probably the best example that I can think of right now is Billy Bob Thornton. You know, Billy Bob, and I've worked with Billy Bob a couple of times, and Billy Bob asked a director that I'm also is a hero of mine, which is Billy Wilder, and they met at a restaurant. And Billy Bob said, "Hey, what would you advise a character actor like myself to do to get farther in the industry?" And Billy didn't hesitate. Billy Wilder didn't hesitate and said, make your own movie. Just get out there, make your own project. So he makes Sling Blade. And I was one of the first people to see. I read for Sling Blade,
no
in fact.
way.
But Sling Blade, I mean, to say that it changed the trajectory of his career is an understatement.
Absolutely.
I mean, it opened up every door. And he'd written some. I think he'd written maybe One False Move, or I don't know. But
Right.
writing and directing and acting, which is what some actors have done. I mean, a friend of mine who's worked a lot with Adam Sandler says, if you don't think Adam Sandler directs, think again. He may not take a director's credit, but he's involved in the creative process. And Ben Stiller, and you know, I do mainly comedy, so that's who comes to mind. And of course, Woody Allen's been around forever.
Schitt's Creek.
Wow. Eugene Levy. I mean, all these guys are doing, whether it's TV or film, and you know, there's so much moving towards television too, which is, I mean, television now to me is cinematic in a way.
I was going to say what that's as soon as you said that, like, what is TV anymore?
Well, it's definitely a new platform in that you have these limited series, and they're shot. I mean, I just finished watching White Lotus because it was all set in Thailand.
Yeah.
And I was telling the guy that I hope is going to shoot my film in Thailand. I said, listen, watch White Lotus, because Mike White, the shots they have really capture so much of the essence of Thailand, the beauty of its of the landscape, but also the people. It's really well done. And so I think television. I don't know what. Maybe True Detective was the game changer. Of course, you've got Taylor Sheridan kicking out. I mean, Taylor Sheridan is like the new, Jerry Bruckheimer, maybe more so. He's got. I think he's got 5 series maybe that are on right now.
Wow.
And so and he's based out of Texas, and they're doing however many episodes they do for each of them. But I think that. I think I got off subject. You'd asked me as far as
just talking about what TV looks like to movie to like where's this going? Like in your opinion, because you're in it and you're trying to make a film in Thailand. And
my hope is that I mean we'll always have the blockbuster movies. We'll always have the Marvel and I think those will always be appealing. But I do think it's going to start on the feature film world, and I just hope and pray that theaters aren't coming to an end. I just went to an incredible, and I want to give them a shout out. It was one of the best panel. Well, it was just an interview. It was Leonard Maltin interviewing Jason Reitman. And Jason Reitman I'd worked with years ago. Jason directed, I'm sure people know, Juno and one of the last Ghostbusters. His dad was Ivan Reitman. Mm-hmm. And I've got a separate story about he and I at a film festival. But he and I became friends through the film festival. And then I did this little commercial spec for him. But anyway, he was talking about how he and a group of other filmmakers were going to buy a theater in Westwood because all these theaters are closing down.
Right.
I mean, you don't have, mainly probably because of the pandemic, but also because people have their own elaborate theaters in their homes.
Right.
But I just hope we don't lose that whole theater going experience where you're surrounded by people you don't know and you're sharing something that's
there's something about being together
it's
in
amazing.
a giant and watching this.
It brings people together of all walks of life. And I know I was talking about film festivals, but I do want to mention this. On one of the films that I directed recently, I went to Rome for a festival, and I was when you go to these film festivals, you're kind of grouped together. It's almost like going to camp, Corona camp, but it's like going to camp. So, but in my group, I had 2 guys from Iran, 2 from Syria, this one woman, beautiful woman from Tunisia, 1 from Kazakhstan, 1 from London, and then me from Oklahoma. And so that was my group. That was my group for the week. And I swear to you, Vic, by the second day, we're laughing our asses off. It's almost as if we all grew up in the same place. There was I mean, it was such a beautiful thing to see. I just wanted to almost like just I wanted to show it to people that we're just so.
We're all this. Yeah.
It's all the same when you break it down, and it's and film and music are 2 of the greatest unifiers. I mean, and it's like, and we all appreciated each other's efforts on filmmaking, getting films made, and getting. I remember this guy from Kazakhstan was 23, 24 years old, and he knew movies like I couldn't believe. He's a young kid. I said, "How do you know so much about movies?" He goes, "Piracy." I started laughing. I go, but they want to see films. They want
right.
Yeah, but I guess I think it's you look back at time when the silent era changed, and one of my first movies I booked in L.A. was Chaplin.
No way.
And my scene was the scene of Great Dictator when Chaplin did his first talking film with Robert Downey Jr., who was phenomenal. And so, but you look back at when the silent era changed to talkies,
right?
When you had television, when you had the internet. So then now we're at AI, and now we're also at whatever else is changing on the landscape.
Right.
TV is now becoming almost eclipsing movies.
Right.
And so I don't know, but I do know that I believe in worldwide creativity and resilience and the human story and human nature and people that want to tell stories. And like what you were saying earlier, I'm when something makes me laugh, I want to share that.
Yes.
And I go, how do I do this? You know?
I need Todd Phillips to come back. He
Wow.
make
Todd
all those
Phillips
hangovers,
was amazing.
and then he said, "I
Yeah.
can't make comedy anymore because he was
Yeah.
worried about getting canceled." He made the
Yeah.
Joker, and then obviously something happened. He made the Joker,
Yeah.
the musical,
Yeah.
which we're all allowed to have a stumble.
Well, yeah,
and let him get back into the comedy
yeah,
world.
Yeah,
now.
you don't hit every time.
You don't hit every. Sometimes you whiff out.
What you thought was funny. It's
Right.
like those late nights when you're sitting around with a friend, you're laughing your ass off.
And you wake up-
and the next morning you go, that wasn't
That was never really that funny. Exactly.
But I will say, I was gonna say, oh shoot. What,
No,
I had a bit
about connecting
I had a big
comedy and those moments and
Yeah.
feelings but while
It'll
you're
come
thinking that
back
thing,
to me. It'll
while
come
you're and that's why when we started talking and we were hanging in Thailand for a while and you were talking about the project, I was so impressed
Yeah.
because your background is not that well, I should say this. You started doing your own stuff and you've
Yeah.
still done, but
Yeah.
it's also, you've also been, brought into the A-list in Hollywood. And I think that by doing all of those projects and working with great people, you keep leveling up. So it's about just getting out there,
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
And that's how it is going to be. And I think that, we're seeing this blend. How we even started talking, how you and I met was through a friend who's a huge influencer.
Right.
And we won't mention that he's got a giant Netflix thing going on as of yesterday, and that's a tough one. But anyway, he's a dear young man, and we know the real story. And I'll leave it at that and say, the world always finds out; they'll eventually find
Yeah.
out. So how sometimes the narrative is changed,
Yeah.
but coming back to how we met
Yeah.
and then having that background as actors and doing all the
Yeah.
stuff and coming from different things and then just knowing your journey has been super
Yeah.
cool because
Yeah.
obviously we've got time to hang out and talk and
Yeah.
and obviously my kids who are actors and there's something about that collaborative
Yeah.
endeavor where you just never know where it's going to go. And then I'm now pitching you to come join my
No,
show.
wow, which I'm
So
I'm excited about,
it's
and
cool
that's
stuff.
the thing. I'm first and foremost an actor. I mean,
Right.
that's my first love, and I think it always will be. I do love to make my own projects, but as you know, it's tough, and that's why I self-indulgently put myself in all my films. But I did remember what I wanted to say was there's a couple things that I'm trying to develop, but one of them is a TV show, and then one is the feature film that I want to do in Thailand. But the TV show would be a little bit of an homage to the shows of the 70s. And also like Dave Chappelle, and I don't know if you know this, but I came real close to getting on the last year of In Living Color.
Oh
and,
my
and,
God!
And,
What
and,
an epic!
But they ended up casting another guy who looked a lot like Rush Limbaugh and did a great Rush Limbaugh. So but if you remember, but the reason I wanted to bring that up was because I thought the Wayans brothers were super smart. I think Chappelle is super smart.
So talented.
And I think Key and Peele are just, these guys are geniuses, but they turn all this racial stuff on its head.
Yeah.
So whereas filmmakers now, and maybe like you were saying about Todd Phillips, where you're now afraid to say things, I mean, back then they showed you the ludicrousness of it,
Right.
and they to me they did more. Spike Lee would come at you hard.
Absolutely.
But I think these guys through comedy and saying, listen, we get it. And I'll tell you who else I think is one of my heroes is Red Fox.
Oh,
and
man.
I was watching some old Sanford and Sons and some old All in the Families. You couldn't say that shit today.
Oh,
I mean, what it's but it's unreal.
Go
how,
watch Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles. Another, and
People lose their mind.
And Mel Brooks talks about that. Mel
Right.
Brooks, and the only reason they got away with that was because Richard Pryor was one of the writers. I think Richard Pryor was actually supposed to play the Cleveland Literal, but he was too risky
Oh, I
because
didn't
he
know
was
that.
going through his drug
Drug thing.
time.
They're
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah.
we might want to.
He's a little risky. But God, what a genius! But
brilliant.
but that movie still holds up, and it holds up because it's unapologetically says both sides of the racial issue.
I'm going to go back to what I said
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
and it's not what you said; it's how you made me feel.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that just goes with we were. I don't. Okay, everybody's got a perspective, so right. But mine, looking back, is you just told the story the way you wanted to.
Right.
And if you really had hate in you, you even back then would be canceled or whatever the
Right.
term is.
Right.
Now people are so caught up in everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's got it. There's an economic incentive to canceling somebody a lot of times. And all
Yeah.
this. So we've gotten into this weird ground where comedy got canceled, all that. Thank God for Joe Rogan, who's just saying anything. He brought Texas. I mean,
And what's
comedy
great-
happened because of Joe Rogan again.
And can I interject one thing?
please.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, yeah.
I just want to say, because I always find it fascinating that people attack Joe Rogan for having people on his show. It's not him saying it. He interviews these people.
Right.
I mean, and so you can choose whether or not they're full of shit.
Right.
But he's just giving a platform where you won't hear this information, and you can disagree with him. But to his credit, I just think he and some of these other podcasters, and they have people on their show that mainstream media would never have, because they know they're going to go against their narrative and go against their ideology.
Right.
I mean, just listen to people. Let people make up their own minds.
And that's where I think we're getting
and how
to.
it makes you feel.
And that's exactly what you just said is I think where we're
Yeah.
getting to, and coming full circle of here we are on, Hollywood, you can't get more of epic Hollywood, and it's struggling. It's losing. The markets are billions of dollars in films because they're not telling a story.
Yeah.
They're telling a narrative.
Right.
They're telling a checkbox list, and everybody's sick of it. So what's now happening, I think, is you're getting people who are just saying, fuck it, I don't care anymore. Cancel me. Do whatever. And that's what's happening. Comedy's coming back.
Yeah.
People are over it. I'm
Yeah.
over it. I don't care anymore.
I've been
Cancel
over
me,
it.
say whatever
I've
you
been
want.
over
I'm
it.
over
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And let's
Yeah.
just go make something great. And what's cool is in the 80s and 90s, when you had Chappelle and you had In Living Color and you had All in the Family, even back then, you had all this, nobody cared because it was just so it's like, and everybody's like, oh well, now we've evolved or whatever. I'm like, actually, I'm gonna go with the opposite. We saw what this has done, and it's made everybody afraid. It's made everybody afraid to speak. And I'd rather you tell me how you really feel.
Yeah.
And then I can make my own judgment as opposed to, are they not saying that? Because it's just speaking. See, birds are attacking. It's the birds hitting the window. I told you.
So that tells you. It's a sign.
That's a sign. That's it. There it is.
It's a sign you're saying something right.
It is.
I think.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking out there. It's Friday afternoon.
I wish people could see that, because this really is the world of Hollywood is, and you talk about people from all over the world. They come here. And that's what they're hoping. This is still the land of dreams, man. It's still.
Here we are sitting.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, this is
next to old Oscar.
There he is.
Old Oscar.
It's a cool thing, and I know how blessed I am to be in this business, to be able to do different projects, and that's why the only way I for me is you just got to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
None of all is going to be right.
Yeah.
It's not who knows? Maybe I'll make Joker 3 the musical or whatever. But no.
Wait a minute, it's an idea. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And that's where But if you're with a bunch of great people who are collaborating and you're working together, I think there's something to be said for that. You learn, even if it's you're always growing. And
it's for the journey's fun.
The journey's
and I was going to say I agree with you that. First of all, it's one of my favorite quotes, that you make a film 3 times: when you write it, when you shoot it, and when you edit it. And you mentioned that the most of the fun, and I do agree, is the actual shooting, the actual production. Right. But I will say there's a lot of fun to be had in the pre-production too, when you're casting and you're finding these locations, and editing. Editing for me is a love-hate thing. Because it's like,
I have a lot more hate than love these days.
Yeah,
I've been behind it too much.
Yeah,
I've edited too many projects.
Well, and it's crazy, because when you edit, you think you've got it. You think, okay, that's it. Okay, I'm done. And then you show it to somebody, and this is my own little quote. Maybe this will be in a book someday, but I call it the cow theory. So you've seen the film 100 times, 1,000 times, whatever. Your editor, you know it. So you know you locked up. There's no question marks until someone who knows nothing about it watches it and says, "What about that cow in the second scene?" What cow? There's no cow in the second scene. And sure enough, there's a cow in the second scene that you never saw. I mean, that's the extreme. But I've been there. I've seen it. I worked for a producer, and Kevin Costner was one of the producers on it too. And can I tell you the quick story?
Oh yeah, of course.
This is an editing story.
These are great. Yeah.
If anybody's interested, so we're sitting behind, and I was an assistant to a producer who went on to produce a little film called The Lord of the Rings. One of the Academy Awards.
I think I heard of that one.
Yeah. So I'm working for him as an assistant. But he gave me a lot of autonomy, and we're sitting there. We had the big audience. The big audience was where they just fill out the forms.
Yeah.
And then they've all left. So now we have 20 people, and the demographic skews a little younger. And so, but the thing that's most important to the film is when you know this couple is in love. That's the key. You got to know when the couple's in love. And it was a cinematographer turned director. So we all knew, including Costner, including Barry Osborne, who was the producer, and the director. We all know it's one of three scenes. It's either the skinny dipping scene, which is beautifully shot, this lake, or it's at a park, or it's a bedroom scene, a very intimate, romantic scene. So it's one of those three scenes. But we need to hear from this group of 20 which one that is. So we're all sitting back. They don't even know we're back there. So the moderator says, the filmmakers would like to know, when did you know the couple was in love? This guy he had a ball cap on, he's like 25 years old. He shoots his hand up. He goes, I know for sure. He goes, okay, well, thank you. Well, you'll be of help to the filmmakers. He goes, well, when did you know? He goes, when he was choking her in the kitchen. This is what I mean by the cow. We've all seen it 1,000 times. We're going, shit. You saw how jealous he was. We all look at each other. I still get goosepimples. I go, the kid's right. And the girl next to him goes, I didn't even think about that. He's right. That's when I knew too.
And here you made the movie.
But that changes the film.
Yeah.
Because that is, film structure.
Yeah.
You've got to find that. And I just thought, but I've dealt with this with my own films where it's like, especially with comedy, you play it on the girl, it's funnier. Or if you play it on, wherever you play, and you're thankful for editors who have that comedic sense. They go, why do we play it on her? Play the line on her,
right?
And all of a sudden it's funny. Seinfeld used to say he would do the same stand-up, exactly the same intonation, same everything, but he'd cock his head, and it'd be funny. If he didn't cock his head, it can sometimes be that precise.
Mm-hmm.
But in editing, it's just, and that's why. But when you get it, and something lands, and all of a sudden, like you say, you're making the movie 3 times. That's when that's the last time. And of course, there's an old saying that a director never finishes; he only abandons it. And that's where I am too.
I agree.
Because I still.
That's where I am with my movie right now.
Yeah, and I still watch my short film that had more success than I ever dreamed of, and I'm watching them going. I can fix that. I can fix that.
I'm
that feeling.
Boy, do I know. I'm living it right now.
Most directors do.
It's I think a good way for people to don't understand is if you're doing a symphony and you're the conductor,
yes.
and you can hear the one out of tune, but nobody else hears it.
Yeah.
But that one thing is a little late. Think of Whiplash. Are you
Yeah.
early? Or are you
Yeah.
late? Are you
Yeah.
early? And it's the same thing. You will drive yourself. What's that expression? The enemy of great is perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're going to have the kid who says, when he choked her in the kitchen, and you guys are like, holy cow. And that's what happens. It's art.
Yeah, and I love films where I feel like I learn. First of all, what you said, how it makes you feel.
Yep.
I love to learn something, and that's what I hope my Thailand film is going to teach about the culture of Thailand.
It's a beautiful idea. The premise, it's going to be.
It has
beautiful.
music, and I love that you mentioned music because I'll say
lights are falling down here. Birds are coming in.
It's getting wild here.
This is very.
But
podcast.
But one of the films that really changed my whole appreciation of music was Amadeus.
Oh.
And Amadeus, I'm a Milos Forman fan, going back to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But watching Amadeus, to me, classical music used to be one big blob. It was just like it was Muzak.
Right.
And there's a scene in Amadeus where Salieri's talking about Mozart. He's jealous of Mozart. And he's jealous because everything just comes naturally to Mozart. What he has, but what it does, it's a scene where he takes every instrument and talks about the emotion that Mozart is getting out of him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy crap! I go, that's what that's doing. That's what that does. And I know it sounds probably, for anybody who knows classical music, I'm an idiot. But for me, it was a great example of a movie that just, but watch it. But when we go out, we should look, because you have Rocky. And you think about a film that was made with an independent spirit. Stallone held out.
Oh,
He goes, I'm not making this unless it's me.
Right.
And I'm also and I want it to be, But all these films, I was just reminded of just the humanity of them all.
Yeah.
And they're all, even the comedies. I mean, they all have such humanity and so much to learn from and so much to feel from.
And that's
what Rocky really makes you feel. I mean, talk about a movie that makes you feel.
Right, and that's the key. I think as people, and we've gotten to that point now when we say make you feel, I feel that lately it's all been a different, I'm not going to say a bad feeling, it's just a feeling I'm not going to lie, I'm not a big fan of all the stuff that's been, I go back to some of the, it's just, I want something that's, I don't feel like I got to go watch the movie and take a shower.
Yeah,
I feel like
I do
I'm not
too.
all about like give me a happy ending.
Yeah,
of the
doesn't have to be tied up in a bow,
ride
but
off in a sunset and all.
Yeah.
But give me something that's like or something that makes me think, or but or something that makes me get a good laugh at even myself or whatever. And where today, the ones everybody's trying so hard to make you feel, but it's more of it feels like feels propagandistic.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it should be movies. Especially the ones that are completely fiction, but even the ones that are based on real people, it should be an escape.
Yes,
and it should be an inspiration. And we're all dealing with whatever we're dealing with in our own lives. And movies used to be you went into a dark theater and you entered somebody else's world.
Yeah.
For those 2 hours, or if it's a Scorsese film, 4 hours.
It takes you away. Yeah, exactly.
No,
it takes you away, though. No, we're now Avatar Part 9.
Yeah.
Or I can't wait to see the new Dune. We got lights back here.
It's like a
it's a light. He's a saber. Yeah, we got
the force is strong with him with this one. I can see it as he holds that.
Luke.
Luke is.
Luke, I am your father.
Yes.
Anyway, so I have to probably strike that, or they'll sue me for that. One line there.
Yeah.
But wow, this trip's going. Well, I could talk to you all. Well, we have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and convince you to help me with this show and all this other stuff. And but anyway,
and you with mine.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll shoot both of them at the same time in Thailand. Thailand people, look out for it.
Here we come. Although no, I could go off and talk all about how great it is there. On a closing note, I'm thinking for everybody who wants to get into the industry, you as a highly accomplished actor, movie maker, been in the space, what's going on today? What is it that someone, obviously I think we've said it a million times in a million different ways, make your own stuff. But give me something, if you were to give somebody some advice and say, hey, I always tell them it's never about the camera. It's about the lights and the lens. When they come to me as that aspect, or, young filmmaker, when it's from the filming standpoint, from your standpoint, writing, rom-com, comedy, horror, any way you want to answer that, or what they should make, what they should make. What's your thoughts?
Well, I err towards comedy, but I think the old, there's a lot of old sayings, write what you know and write from the heart, and again, like what we've talked about before, you don't need to. If it's a short film, and for actors, and I've taught at colleges around the country, and I remember one time when I was teaching at Emerson in Boston, I asked how many of the filmmakers were aspiring actors as well, and it was almost like I asked them an embarrassing question. They didn't want to raise their hands, and to me, I think now more than ever, it's a great time to be an actor and a filmmaker, and put yourself in your film, but be, make sure you're honest with yourself about, I'm a character actor. I have no delusions of being Brad Pitt, but I'm just saying, write what you know, act in what you know and what you think your strengths are, and use that as a calling card to hopefully, and that's been the beauty of my experience, is these films that I've made have not only helped me further my career as a filmmaker, but they've even more importantly helped me further my career as an actor, because people will see me in my films, and thankfully they've been appreciated so far, right. Which I'm hoping this next one would be. But I think I can't emphasize enough the writing. I think it really, there's, someone said that if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, which I think is largely true. I mean, I think if you can collaborate with someone, I think being in class for actors, I always recommend being in some type of class. And the last class that I was in, a big class, I mean, I had Christian Slater in my class, I had Kyle Chandler, I had all working actors. I don't think you ever stop learning,
Right.
and I don't think you ever stop trying to find people that you can collaborate with, and I think I mean, even us meeting and wanting to help each other, and I think that's so much of what it's about is finding good material, a good script. If you have friends that are great writers, take them to lunch. And or do the work yourself.
Right. No, and you know what? You just said it's some great stuff. If it's not on the page, not on the stage, but what about all the creative? So I'm going to agree with you 100%, but I'm going to say I think you get to a certain level where the improv, it's almost guidelines.
Yeah.
I think people take. As a director, you're like, oh, the line is said exactly this way, and they don't. I've seen that. I've seen where people lose their minds, writers, and I'm like, it was better the way they delivered it. It felt natural, and
well, 100%. As I said, I've done over, I think 100 to 200 national commercials, and I would say, even at a low estimate, 80% of those, 90% almost, I've added a line, I've done something, I've improvised. Almost all the movies I've done, I've improvised something, and to steal a story from Matt Damon. You mentioned Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, so those guys did Good Will Hunting. They talk about Robin Williams ad-libbing some of the best lines in that movie. Now they got nominated for the Oscar, but Robin Williams could have been as well as a writer. And then Matt Damon was telling a story about Jack Nicholson, one of my heroes, and he said Nicholson said, "I would not be." His words exactly. I would not be the actor I am today, the success I have today, were I not a writer. And he gives this example of from The Departed, the movie The Departed, when he plays a hitman. I think it's been a while, but anyway, they're shooting some guy, and so Nicholson says, we could do it that way, but what if we? And this is all improv. He goes, what if we made it a woman? So they changed it to a woman. Then he said, and the way Matt Damon tells the story really well, you can find it online. Matt Damon says, Jack Nicholson says, so I say, but what if we kept the camera rolling? So he keeps the camera rolling, and he says, boy, she fell funny, didn't she? Which is kind of funny because that shows you how many killings I've probably done, and that I'm noticing how the woman falls, and so that stays in. And she goes, but he said, but what if you kept the camera rolling? And then I can't remember the other actor he's in the scene with, but he's a legendary character actor. Anyway, by the time they finished it, they had added 5 things to the scene, which made it the brilliant scene, which probably got everybody the Oscar nods. I mean, and so that's what I do. When I've coached actors, I'll say, listen, respect the writing, respect what they've got, but just say, but what if?
Right.
What if we kept the camera rolling? And I say, well, I'm adding to. I'm not taking away, but I'm making it like on In the Line of Fire. This is a good example of an improv. On In the Line of Fire, I play a good old boy hunter.
Right.
He's a good old boy, and I knew this guy the minute I read it. So in the film, I rewrote. And this is my first film, one of the first films I booked, so it's pretty cocky to do. But I said, in the scene, I say, do you mind if I shoot the gun? I said, I don't think that's how a good old boy would say it. I said, you mind if I give her a little dance? Just change one line.
Yep.
But I've had people remember that line. Speaking of one-liners, and I gave her a little dance, and then I said there were 2 or 3 things that I improvised, and the director loved it, and the writer loved it.
Right.
So I just think if you can, really take to heart what the intentions of the writing is, and the character, of course. But I think if you make it your own, it's really about making it your own.
Absolutely.
Making it your own as a writer, making it your own as an actor, making it your own as a director.
That's the director's job, to pull the actors who aren't, you give Robin Williams a microphone and God rest his soul, he gives you 2 Aladdins, they said.
Well, yeah.
But that's exactly it. And knowing, and that's what I think the biggest holdup with actors is they're afraid to make a mistake. They're afraid to go off the page.
Yeah.
They're afraid to just let it out. And the more you do, you get there are some crazy ones out there. There's some,
but a good director will get you in to where you feel safe to do that.
It creates that safe space.
Absolutely.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And you're trusting. Everybody's it's such a collaborative thing, and it's just
it's funny, my favorite thing to do as a director. When they're done with it, when you've already got it, and we say we've already got it, move on. I go, hold. And I always say to my actors, I go, listen, I know you got one in you that you didn't do.
Yeah.
Give me one for the you. And that's become my, I know other people have done that, but I'm just like, no, I know I got it.
Yeah.
So now what do you have that you've been, because now you've been rehearsing it, you're comfortable with the line, and you can always bring something, and it's always better.
Yeah.
It's almost always better than what we've got. Because it's like you flushed it out.
You're relaxed, and that's Gene Hackman was talking about that. He's talked about relaxation. He said that's one of the first things. And
that safe zone.
Yeah, and there was another, relaxation and concentration. Those are the 2 things that he said were most important for an actor: relaxation and concentration. And the combination of those 2 together just usually makes for gold. When you've got good writing, especially. But it's like oh God, there was something else I wanted to tell you. You said something about Robin Williams.
Everyone's gonna have to stay tuned.
Well, it's just like, no, I do know that with like actors like Robin Williams and they would do takes fully scripted, and then like what you're saying, just let it go. I remember now what I was going to tell you. This is an editing trick that I learned. So my second film that I directed, I was really honored to do it. I mentored an inner city kid. So these kids had never acted before, and these kids were the real deal. My kid that I mentored had both his parents were in prison. I mean, very little. It was
tough life.
Tough life, and I'm grateful to say to this day he's doing great.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think this film helped him. But when we shot it, I was losing my mind because these kids, I had one kid who kept putting gum in another kid's hair that I had to take it out in between takes. But the thing that I knew, I just wanted my kid to relax into it. But here's my little trick. It's kind of like Nicholson again. I kept the camera rolling, and so I used stuff in between.
Yes.
That it was not even in the scene. It was the kids just
doing,
being bored, and that's what I wanted.
It's funny.
But I remember with my editor, I go, no, that moment right there before we go to the scene, that's what I want.
Right.
He rolls his eyes. It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh no, I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done it. Yeah.
I saved a few movies or helping some in the edit because you get in there and they give you none of this works, and then before the camera starts rolling, somebody's, because they're more relaxed, they don't hear action.
Yeah.
More of a novice actor sits there and they're just like this, and then they hear action and then they go.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't use that. So when you catch them up, so I love what you just said.
My last thing that I did, I just did it a couple weeks ago. I'll give it a plug. It's called The Sensitive Kind. It's going to come out in September on FX, and it's Ethan Hawke as the star, and he was incredibly fun to work with, and we did a lot of improvisation. Sterling Harjo created the show, same guy that created Reservation Dogs, all shot in Oklahoma. Great cast: Kyle MacLachlan, Tim Blake Nelson, who I'm actually getting ready to do his film, and Gene Triplehorn. Oh my gosh, a lot of great people. But anyway, we had so much fun improvising, and Sterling, to his credit, I mean, he was. I felt like I was working with a guy that had been doing it for 50 years because he was just so loose, and Ethan Hawke was so great. We all broke.
Wow.
I rarely break. I mean, it's got to be really
hard to break.
But we had so much fun, and like you say, I don't know what they have in between,
right?
But I have the feeling there's some stuff that we did in between takes,
right? That they're gonna
that might make it in.
That's
see.
Awesome.
I just hope, I hope it cuts together the way you hope, and that's the other thing. You never know as an actor
you put it out there.
What's going to go bye, and but you hope you did your job.
Well, that being said, I think we've definitely shared some nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
And some great stories.
Should we toast microphones?
There you go. Cheers, buddy. can't thank you enough.
Oh man, it was an honor.
This
Wow.
was so much fun. It's
Oh.
this is why I enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
The one person who's going to watch this, I thank you. I thank you very much.
I thank you too.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my camera to thank you.
Right, this is really awesome because and again, if we could share anything, none of this existed when I was young, and I was in New York City running around doing different actor studio or web Playhouse or We Sparin or all those, and I'm spending money and I'm running around trying to get it, and now today
buying books at Samuel French.
Oh my God, all of them, and
yeah.
I'm like, now if I could have got somebody who just said, shut up, go film it, go make some shit. It would have been different. And now, so here I am going, hey, let me get. I told you the birds are coming.
Come on up.
Yeah, exactly.
Next.
Or maybe that was one of the tourists throwing stuff at us.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
so thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching, and there'll be more coming at you soon.
Sweet.
And stay tuned to see what's it called?
The sensitive kind.
The Sensitive Kind.
The next thing, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then off we go to Thailand to make your show,
Yeah,
and
that's called Take a Hike. Yeah.
and then we got mine coming out to Miami and Tokyo. It's gonna get exciting.
It's good.
All right, everybody, take care.